Hi, and welcome to another edition of the Digital Arts Show. I'm Jim Sirianni, your host. Thank you so much for joining us today on this lovely day. This show is part of the Digital Arts Festival that is produced by Center Stage Theater of Santa Barbara, California. The Digital Arts Festival shows stream nightly at 7 p.m. Every night there's a new artist that you get to meet and find out what they are all about. You can find out more on the Center Stage website, centerstagetheater.org, and click on the blog tab in the upper right side there of the main homepage. Just click on the blog tab. Again, that's centerstagetheater.org. And the purpose of the Digital Arts Festival is to create an outlet for artists of all kinds to share their work. And unfortunately, because of the shutdown, many artists and performers suddenly found themselves with no way to show their work or to perform. And unfortunately, in some cases, the work these artists or performers have created may never be seen by the public. And that's unfortunate. But in an effort to find a workaround, if you will, the Digital Arts Festival was created by Center Stage to help artists and performers connect with their audiences in a virtual way. And so we're grateful to them for producing the Digital Arts Festival. We will have dance, theater, music, film, visual arts, poetry, storytelling, and much more. And again, you can learn all about it on the Center Stage website, centerstagetheater.org, and click on the blog tab. Today's guest is Devyn Duex. Devyn is the founder, president, and artistic director for Nebula Dance Lab. And DL, by the way, is celebrating their 10-year anniversary this year. And welcome to the show, Devyn. It's so great to have you with us today.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here as well, connecting virtually with
Yes,
everybody.
exactly. Connecting one way or the other. At least we were
That's
able to
right.
do this. So, Devyn, tell us a little bit about your background and your dance training.
Yeah, so I have a really eclectic background in performing arts. I actually started in music when I was a really small child, playing. I played the trumpet first. I don't think a lot of people know that, but then I switched to flute, played all the way through college, and sang, and then got into acting also. And I danced throughout that time as well. My undergrad is actually musical theater, so I put all of those, kind of together to get my undergrad. And I went into a professional. I started working professional as 15 in an acting role. I did improv. That was my first professional. The first thing I got a check for as an actor. So I have a variety of different skills that I pulled from in my background. I'm a SAG actor. I've done TV and film and stage, as well as musicals and things like that. So when I came to Santa Barbara, I really got into more concert style dance. And I really started to hone in on that love. I've always obviously loved music, and I love dances. I've had training all my life and in undergrad and professionally as well. But I really found that to be an opportunity here in Santa Barbara. And so I started working, with other artists as a dancer. And so I worked semi-professionally here in town until, right around 2008, I started doing some of my own stuff. And then about 2010, when I was on maternity leave, is when I officially created Nebula. So I think a lot of people would take a break. I was like, this is a great opportunity. Let's start the company. So, um,
Great.
so that's kind of where that,
Wow. And
the
so now
starting came from.
wow, that's wonderful. So that's, now you're celebrating your 10th anniversary, and
10
congratulations on
years. Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Thank
And
you.
so, as I mentioned, this is the 10th anniversary for Nebula. Tell us about how it came into being. How has it grown over the last 10 years?
Yeah, so I would say, the initial concept was, just kind of came out of wanting to have more opportunity, honestly, to show work. And especially in dance, I had been producing dance in Los Angeles, more commercial style dance for a couple of years. And that's how I think I got kind of interested too in having more of the business aspect, having more of a company per se. It's very different though. Concert style dance and commercial dance are very different when it comes to how you fund it. So it started more, I would say, grassroots. I mean, we pulled in, the idea was really Heather Shea and Elizabeth Schweitzer and I sat down one evening. writing out a bunch of ideas for how a company, would look and feel, and what we liked, and kind of what we wanted to bring into the concept. And so they were really, I wanted to give them a shout out, because going back to the roots of how we started, they were a big part of that initial vision. And Heather's been along on the ride the whole way, on the board and in many capacities. And what we really wanted to try to do was something a little bit different. We didn't want to have just a singular voice, just like, it's my company, here's all my stuff kind of idea, which is not a bad thing. And I'm not saying anything about anyone's companies that are like that, but we wanted to do something just a little bit different. We thought that there was an opening for a company that could support emerging artists, many voices, if you will, choreographers out there that have things to say, that are trying to get work out there, who maybe can get in a rehearsal space and create a piece, but then how do you get it up on a stage, and how do you get an audience out there when funding is limited? And it's hard to do when it's like the chicken and the egg, you're like, how do I get the funding if I'm just starting out? And so that was our initial idea, was to really create a place for artists to have a voice. And we started, actually the first year I didn't even I didn't put any work out myself. It was Emily Titomer and Aaron Burkett, who was Aaron Martinez prior to when she was married. And they put out the first show that was their work, that we put onto the stage. And over the 10 years, we've had 9 choreographers, and I think it's around 25 pieces that we've created and put up on the stage since we started 10 years ago. So it's been a really fun ride in that respect.
Nice.
Yeah. It really, going back and looking at our last show, it's been really special.
Yes, I'm sure it has been. Now, how did you come about with the name Nebula? How did that name come about?
Yeah, it was a collaboration of a lot of people putting in input. We had an idea of what we wanted the name to be, and we just kind of sent it out to a bunch of friends and family and said, hey, what are some words that kind of create this vibe? And Nebula seemed perfect, because if you think of what a nebula is, it's energy, right?
Right.
And it creates more energy as it pulls in more things in the universe, and that space expands and becomes bigger and more energy. And so you can see it's this ripple effect. And that's exactly what we're trying to do with what Nebula is about. We started out with a couple of choreographers and dancers, and it's rippled out, and we have this larger community now of professional artists who have gone on to do other things. Some have come back to work again. We've touched into the community through our kids show now, which is a big piece of what we do, and the festival, which was also rippling out. Now we've got an international community of artists that come into Santa Barbara through that. So to me, that's like, it's taking on its own shape and form, but that's really where the name came from. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, so then the energy is expanding, just as the organization is expanding, and you're reaching out to, from Santa Barbara out to the world, basically. So I like that. So tell me a little bit about your creative process. How do you go about creating a dance?
Yeah, so each choreographer really has their own process. And so we don't have one, again, true to what we're really about. We're not about one cookie cutter way, because it's Nebula and we want it all to be this way. It's really about whoever's in space, whatever choreographer is there, they have their own process. And we want to give them all of the things and tools and environment, and get all of those things taken care of for them, so they can really do what they do best, which is create. And the dancers can do what they do best, which is, live and breathe out those roles that they're taking on for that choreographer. So it's really going to be different, again, from choreographer to choreographer. Some come in with very specific things already done, and they have it all scoped it out, and the dancers, learn those sections, and they work very linear. Some work on dancers specifically. For example, myself, I'm very much a choreographer who, I have a vision of what I'm doing. I have it sort of like an outline of what I'm going to be doing. I might have phrase work that I've already done that I'll teach everybody, but I'm heavy into partnering so we have to have people in space a lot of times to figure that out. So I might be sculpting and shaping that as I'm doing it. Some of our pieces, which we've taken on that are 100% collaborative, so everybody in the company is actually also taking on a choreographic role, that's done 100% in the space. And there's really no way we can take it home and then come back. And, I mean, we might have concepts and ideas that we're taking home and coming back, but most of it is done in the space. And we have to build in more time for something like that, because as you can imagine, it takes a lot more time to kind of build it in space and continue on. But there's something special that comes out of a collaborative piece because you're all learning it and creating it at the same time. And the amount of places you can take that material becomes so varied. It can become really deep and connected because you're really part of that process from the get-go.
Right. So it sounds like it's a combination then of either structured or organic or and then a collaborative effort. Is that safe to say? It's kind of a combination of all three. More or less.
And and we do a couple different things. We have obviously individual choreographers who do pieces, and then our kids shows, which are much more a full production. So you can think of like musical theater, but without the words. I mean, that's the easiest way to kind of correlate the two.
Without the dialogue.
You don't have the dialogue. No one's singing or anything, but you have all the movement and you have the music, because all the music is done original and we have it done live. So we're incorporating original choreographic movement to bring a book to life on stage. And we have a corresponding curriculum that goes out to the schools for K through 12 so that they can have in-class exercises and things that they can do to kind of full circle it in whatever they're trying to do. So whether it's math, science, if it's arts, we've got stuff that kind of correlates using dance.
That's really cool. So you're weaving in the dance and the artistic with the structure of the education side of things. That's really cool. That's very cool.
And our first one started at Center Stage. Our first kids production, that's where we launched it, was at Center Stage. We launched our entire company at Center Stage.
Very cool.
That was where we started.
By the way, before I forget, I want to make sure that everyone knows your information. And to learn more about Devyn and about Nebula Dance Lab, you can check out their website, which is nebuladance.org. Again, that's nebuladance.org and NEBULA dance.org. And you can also find them on social media. Instagram, it's at Nebula Dance. Twitter, it's at Nebula Dance Lab. And Facebook is Nebula Dance, and you can check them out. And if you want, you can check them out while you're watching this interview and kind of have an interactive experience while we're chatting. And of course, Devyn and Nebula's information is on the blog as well, centerstagetheater.org. And on the blog there on the Digital Arts Festival, you can learn more as we're talking today. So, Devyn, let me ask you, your HH2 festival ended shortly before the COVID-19 crisis really started to take off. How is the crisis impacting you and Nebula? And unfortunately, not a great way to celebrate a 10-year anniversary, but how has that impacted you and the organization?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Yeah, we were lucky to squeak in the festival right before really the sheltering at home became part of our existence here in Santa Barbara and across our state and the country. And so that was really, really great to have that, in the community. We had expanded it. It takes place at Center Stage, so we had Paseo Nuevo involved. And so that, we still we're clinging to that, like memory
right.
and what that did for the community. And we're excited, hopefully, to be able to do it again next year if we are all kind of back up and running. But since then, I mean, we were already full steam ahead with our new production, Karana, Island of the Blue Dolphins. We've been working for several years to get the rights from the Scott Odell estate to be able to really use the name and the inspiration of the book. We're not, we are using our own kind of spin on it. That's what we tend to do at Nebula, is really take some creative liberty and freedom, use the inspiration. But this is the first time you're ever going to see it as a dance, which is really exciting. And we're we were really thrilled to bring it to the stage and show all the kids. We already had, 10 or 12 schools booked for the field trip in November. And so we were in the rehearsal process. We were getting going. Chloe Roberts is doing all of our choreography. We had our company in space. And then this happened and we had to immediately pull everyone out of rehearsal. So we're on complete pause. We haven't been able to be in space together. And, a lot of our dancers are also teachers. And so they are, depending on where they're teaching, a lot of them have virtual classes that they're doing, but some are not. So they're definitely impacted in that sense. So we're working in the background creatively at Nebula to try to figure out some ways we can get back up and running, because we really want to make sure our dancers and our creative staff are working and that we can supply that work for them during this time and just think differently. So we're looking at virtual, maybe there's some ways we can do virtual rehearsals. Not everything do we have to be right next to each other partnering. We could maybe learn some things that don't involve that, at least for now. But we are also, unfortunately, having to look at what does this mean for the production in the fall? Are we going to be ready to put it up, or do we have to delay our process to show it? We could still maybe get it up and finished, but we're not sure at this point if we're going to be able to actually show it in the fall or if it's going to be a 2021 production.
Oh, wow. So, so the quarantine really has impacted your creative process. It sounds like. Are you, and you kind of touched on it just now, but are you doing any special initiatives during this quarantine, or are you thinking about what you could create in response to the shutdown of the quarantine? How is that process for you?
Yeah, so we're trying to create a way for, we don't usually run classes. We're not a school, we're a professional dance company, but we are definitely wanting to support our dancers and choreographers. So we're looking at opening up potentially like a summer camp option virtually, or because a lot of kids are not going to be attending on-site summer camps. So we've got to get creative, and dance is a great thing you can do in your home. You don't need, to have like tons of, you can do it outside, you could be anywhere. We're also looking at ways that we could support our dancers to teach virtually. It's, since students can be in their own home doing it. So we're trying to come up with other ways that we can at least support our creative teams and our company. And then in terms of the piece itself, we are definitely exploring, we're continuing the development of the curriculum for the new work, which we can do, obviously not having to be in space. And then, like I said before, we're trying to see if we could do some kind of virtual rehearsals so we can continue moving the project forward. But I think there's still the question mark, and probably for a lot of companies that have fall productions, are we going to be able to do them? And then if we are able to do them, are people going to be ready to come see them? So are we looking at, I think for us, we're fortunate that most likely it won't be we're not going to show it, which I know a lot of companies, unfortunately, were in that position where they may have had to cancel and not show things. As for us, it's probably just going to be a delay of showing it.
Right. So at least the worst case scenario is just delaying it, and hopefully you'll be able to be up and running. Well, it sounds like you have a lot in the works, and it's great that you're soldiering on as a company and trying to figure out how to think outside the box and everything. And I wish we could talk more, but unfortunately we're just about out of time. But before we go, I just want to make sure everyone knows how to find your company. And again, the website for Nebula is nebuladance.org. That's Nebula, nebuladance.org is the website. And on social media, you can find them on Instagram at Nebula Dance, Twitter at Nebula Dance Lab, and then Facebook is Nebula Dance, of course. And Devyn, I just want
we have a daily picture post on all of our socials, and we're going back through all of our archives and showing all kinds of things throughout the years. So it's really fun.
Great.
I definitely encourage everyone to take a peek. It's a great way to get to know what's been done through Nebula over the past 10 years, and we look forward to another amazing 10. We're going to do
it. For sure, at least 10, or if not another 10 times 10.
10 times 10, let's do it.
Let's do it, right? Yeah, exactly. Well, Devyn, thank you so much for joining us today and taking time out of your day. And we look forward to seeing what you guys are going to be able to do in the future. And again, the website for Nebula is nebuladance.org. And if you'd like to learn more about Center Stage, their website, again, is centerstagetheater.org. And to learn more about the Digital Arts Festival, just click on the blog tab on the Center Stage website, centerstagetheater.org. And if you want to know what I'm up to, you can find me on social media as well, Jim on the Air on Facebook, at Jim on the Air on Instagram. And you can also find my podcast on Spotify and on anchor.fm. And it's also Jim on the Air as well. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching and taking part in the interview today. And Devyn, thank you and good luck with everything. And we'll talk to everybody next time.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye, everybody.